Good evening, true crime aficionados. Tonight, we unravel a nightmare that began as a routine visitation and ended in absolute horror. A story of trust broken, innocence stolen, and a manhunt that still echoes through the forests and mountains of the Pacific Northwest. This is not just the account of a crime. It is a chilling reminder of how quickly ordinary lives can descend into darkness. Part 1. The Visit That Never Ended. On May 30th, 2025, in the quiet city of Wenatchee, Washington, the day began like any other for 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia. Their father, 32-year-old Army veteran Travis Caleb Decker, was granted a scheduled visitation under the court's custody arrangement. These visits had become part of the family's rhythm, a few hours spent together before the children were returned to their mother, Whitney Decker, by evening. The plan was straightforward. Travis would spend quality time with his daughters and return them by 8 p.m. He had always done so before, even amid a turbulent personal life. For Whitney, there was no reason to suspect that this Friday evening would end any differently. Yet, as the hour passed, a deep unease crept in. By 8:30 p.m., there was still no sign of the children. Calls to Travis went unanswered. Text messages remained unread. By 9:45 p.m., fear overwhelmed hope. Whitney contacted authorities and reported her daughters missing. Her desperation collided with bureaucracy. Despite the circumstances, police declined to issue an Amber Alert. Officials claimed the case did not meet the criteria, a decision that would later draw sharp criticism. For Whitney, every minute lost was agony. For investigators, it was a delay in what should have been an immediate race against time. That night, a routine family visit had quietly transformed into a crisis. The 3 little girls had vanished into the custody of the one person expected to protect them. Part 2. Discovery at Rock Island Campground. For 3 agonizing days, the question hung unanswered. Where were Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia? Search teams canvassed neighborhoods, interviewed family members, and retraced Travis Decker's last known steps. Tips flooded in, but led nowhere. Then, on June 2nd, investigators searching the rugged expanse of Rock Island Campground in Chelan County stumbled upon a grim scene. Abandoned in a secluded area was Decker's white 2017 GMC Sierra pickup. The truck appeared hastily deserted, doors unlocked, personal belongings left behind, blankets tossed across the seats, and his wallet sitting in plain view. On the tailgate were 2 bloody handprints, smeared and unmistakable. The discovery chilled investigators to their core. It was not the truck of someone planning to return. It was the vehicle of someone fleeing. Near the site, officers found what they had dreaded since Whitney's call: the bodies of the 3 young sisters. Each child was discovered with plastic bags tightly secured around their heads, some layered multiple times to ensure suffocation. At least one was further bound with zip ties, a restraint that symbolized both control and cruelty. The coroner's report was stark: cause of death, asphyxiation; manner of death, homicide. The innocence of 3 little girls was extinguished in one of the most brutal acts the Wenatchee community had ever witnessed. News of the discovery spread swiftly, leaving the town in shock. Schools, neighbors, and church groups mourned together, grappling with the incomprehensible. The crime scene photographs, sealed in investigative files, would never be shown publicly, but the horror they documented lingered in the imagination of everyone who heard the story. Part 3. The Evidence Mounts. What began as a frantic search for 3 missing children had by early June shifted into something even darker. A forensic investigation zeroed in on a single man, Travis Caleb Decker. With the girls found dead and their father vanished into the wilderness, investigators knew that every clue left behind at Rock Island Campground could determine whether this was an unspeakable tragedy with unanswered questions, or a case with irrefutable proof of guilt. Detectives descended on the abandoned 2017 GMC Sierra with painstaking precision. The truck, found sitting in a secluded patch near the campground, looked less like a vehicle in use and more like a crime scene frozen in time. Inside were scattered blankets, personal effects, and a wallet left in plain sight, as if Decker had been forced to leave quickly or simply no longer cared about what was left behind. But it was the tailgate that drew the most immediate and horrifying attention. 2 bloody handprints, pressed against the metal, smeared and desperate. Forensic experts collected dozens of samples: bloodstains from the vehicle's interior, fibers from the upholstery, soil impressions near the tires, and fingerprints from every surface touched. On June 27th, the first wave of results confirmed the suspicions already forming in the minds of investigators. The male blood sample on the tailgate, along with the bloody prints themselves, were conclusively matched to Travis Decker. He had not only abandoned the truck, he had bled and left his unmistakable signature of violence upon it. But another finding complicated the picture. A second blood sample was discovered in the cab of the truck, raising questions about whether another person had been present. For a brief, fleeting moment, some wondered, had Decker acted alone, or was there another hand in the murders? After further testing, the truth came into focus. The second blood source was not human at all. It belonged to a canine. Investigators soon learned that Decker's dog had been with him during parts of the ordeal. The dog was later rescued alive and unharmed. To many, the discovery struck a disturbing chord. The same man accused of suffocating his daughters with plastic bags had somehow spared, and perhaps even nurtured, his pet. It was a chilling glimpse into the contradictions of his character. The most damning evidence, however, emerged in early August. By then, forensic scientists had completed a detailed DNA analysis of the suffocation tools themselves, the plastic bags and the zip ties recovered from the scene. Each item was examined with care, swabbed for trace evidence, and compared against DNA databases. The results eliminated any doubt. Every single bag, every zip tie, bore only Travis Decker's DNA. No fingerprints, no genetic material from an accomplice, no contamination that could suggest another perpetrator had been present. The evidence painted a stark, horrifying conclusion. Decker, and Decker alone, had carried out the murders. With every forensic update, the case grew darker, more absolute. What had once been a desperate question of, "Where are the girls?" was now transformed into a grim certainty about how they died and who was responsible. The narrative shifted. This was no longer an ambiguous disappearance or a mystery waiting to be solved. It had become a manhunt for a father who had, by all available evidence, turned against his own children in the most unimaginable way. For investigators, the line was now clear. The search for 3 missing girls had ended. The pursuit of one fugitive father had just begun. Part 4. The manhunt begins. By June 3rd, just a day after the horrifying discovery at Rock Island Campground, prosecutors formally charged Travis Caleb Decker with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping. With charges secured, the focus shifted from investigation to pursuit. Decker had not turned himself in, nor had he been located near the crime scene. He had disappeared into the rugged wilderness of Washington state, leaving law enforcement scrambling to anticipate his next move. The search effort was massive from the outset. Multiple agencies, including local sheriff's departments, the U.S. Marshal Service, FBI, and State Patrol, banded together to track Decker down. Their task was daunting. The terrain surrounding Rock Island and Chelan County is unforgiving. Dense forests, steep ridges, and rivers that carve deep channels through the land. For an untrained person, survival in these conditions would be unlikely. But for Decker, a former Army infantryman with survival and evasion training, the wilderness offered both a hiding place and a potential weapon against those chasing him. Ground teams combed trails and back roads, while helicopters with infrared scanners swept over valleys searching for heat signatures. K-9 units traced scents from the abandoned truck, but the trail dissolved into nothing, likely contaminated by the bustle of searchers or lost in the rocky terrain. At night, officers camped in makeshift posts, hoping to intercept Decker if he tried to move under the cover of darkness. Meanwhile, the public braced itself for uncertainty. Decker's face appeared on wanted posters, billboards, and nightly news broadcasts. His description was repeated endlessly. 32 years old, 6 feet tall, dark hair, lean build, and possibly carrying survival gear. Parents in nearby towns kept children close, schools tightened security, and outdoor recreation slowed as fear spread through Washington's mountain towns. Leads trickled in, but failed to bring resolution. In Idaho's Sawtooth National Forest, a group of hikers reported seeing a man resembling Decker moving swiftly between trees, wearing a makeshift backpack. Search teams were deployed, only to return empty-handed after days of effort. Another potential sighting near Kolchak Lake, a remote alpine area popular with backpackers, prompted helicopters and drones to scour the ridges. Once again, nothing. Each false lead drained resources and heightened anxiety, but no one dared ignore even the most fragile tip. As weeks passed, something unexpected occurred. The intensity of the visible search appeared to decline. Fewer helicopters circled the skies, and patrols became less obvious. At first, this fueled speculation that the case was going cold. In reality, insiders suggested it was strategic camouflage. By scaling back public operations, authorities hoped to make Decker feel less cornered, perhaps coaxing him into making a mistake, reaching out for help, or surfacing in areas under quiet surveillance. Yet, despite these tactics, the manhunt dragged on without success. Decker remained invisible, a phantom in the wilderness. His training, knowledge of the terrain, and apparent will to survive left communities unsettled. If he could vanish for days, what stopped him from lasting weeks, or even months? By late June, one truth had become clear. This was no longer a standard fugitive search. It had escalated into one of the most intense, multi-agency pursuits Washington had seen in years. And as time passed, the chilling thought gnawed at everyone following the case. If Travis Decker could disappear so completely after committing such a heinous crime, how long would it take to bring him back into the light? Part 5. Behind the Mask. Who was Travis Decker? To understand the man at the center of this nightmare, investigators turned to his past. Born on August 15, 1992, in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, Travis Caleb Decker grew up in a middle-class household. Friends from his youth described him as quiet but unpredictable, a boy who could be kind-hearted one moment and withdrawn, or explosive the next. After high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Infantry, serving his country with dedication. But military service left scars. He was later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, along with borderline personality disorder and anxiety. These mental health struggles worsened as he transitioned back to civilian life. Family and acquaintances recalled troubling incidents, uninvited entries into his ex-wife's home, erratic mood swings, and paranoid suspicions. While none predicted the horror to come, there was a consistent theme of instability. Whitney, his ex-wife, often described feeling unsafe, though the court continued to allow supervised and later unsupervised visitations. In the months leading up to May 2025, Travis's online behavior revealed another layer of planning. Search history records showed he had Googled how to relocate to Canada and survivalist forums, possibly plotting an escape or anticipating legal troubles. He was a man balancing on the edge between fatherhood, personal demons, and a spiraling sense of control slipping away. The portrait that emerged was not of a faceless monster, but of a deeply fractured man, capable of both tenderness and brutality. And it was that very duality that unsettled investigators most. Part 6. The hunt goes on. As of now, mid-August 2025, Travis Decker remains at large. A $20,000 reward stands for information leading to his arrest. Authorities warn he may be armed and dangerous. Sheriff Mike Morrison noted that someone sympathetic might be aiding Decker, possibly providing shelter or supplies. No confirmation whether he is alive or dead. Silence again from the wilderness. It began as a father-daughter outing and ended in a nightmare that shattered hearts and raised critical questions about our response systems, mental health interventions, and how someone vanished so completely. We'll continue to follow this case as it develops. Until then, let us honor the memory of Paytine, Evelyn, and Olivia. If you found this episode chilling and want more real-life dark tales, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and stay unwell.